So I'm really excited to be here. Sarah asked me to speak about branding, and probably like a lot of you, we're coming off a crazy holiday season. This has been, a really great way to regroup and jumpstart the year. Look, branding is a super complicated subject. You're probably expecting me to tell you what makes a good logo, where to put your product name on the package, or what colors are best for food products, and all of that is super important. But it needs to start from the inside and develop out, not go from the outside in. Branding is not just about surface or about decoration. Good design goes much deeper than that, but you guys already know that. And so what I am going to do is walk you through a process. And branding starts with, okay, I'm just getting the bearings here with this monitor situation. So any branding or big design project, or even your business plan, should start out with asking a series of 5 questions. And I'm going to ask myself these 5 questions right now in the context of this talk to introduce the concept, and I also thought it would be kind of a convenient way to introduce myself and share what I want you to get out of this presentation. So who am I? I realize that my career has a lot of binary contradictions. In other words, opposites. So I'm Nancy. I'm here representing Mouth.com. I'm the president, but I'm also a creative. And this weekend, I'm referring to myself as a social media intern, because I'm going to be posting later onto our Instagram. I'm a designer, but I'm also a writer. I've done content. I was a magazine art director. And I've also worked in advertising, and now I'm focused on e-commerce. So again, opposites. I've worked on fashion brands like Ralph Lauren and in sports for ESPN magazine. I've done print, I've done digital, I've worked on big brands and small brands and new brands and old brands. And I feel like there's a kind of interesting tension between these opposites. In general, these contradictions make me me. And contradictions also make for a really interesting and kind of more layered brand personality. So think about J. Crew, for example. It's classic, but modern with flair. And think about Target, and it's mass, but it really values high design as well. And that kind of unexpected combination is one of the reasons why those brands are so appealing and really resonate. Okay, so side question, just this isn't really one of my questions, but what's Mouth? We're an online retailer for the best small batch foods made in the US, and we curate them into standout gifts. Okay, back to the questions. What do I believe? Okay, these are your beliefs. So I believe that a brand should tell a story. I believe that a brand needs a clear vision, a clear mission, and a clear identity in order to resonate. And I believe really strongly that a brand identity should be consistent across everything that you do. In other words, everything a brand does should speak from the same voice, from the logo to the marketing, to the social media, to the packaging, everything. And my team has heard me say this a million times. They're totally sick of it. What's my mission here? Well, for this talk, I want to use a few real and hypothetical examples to help you think about your own brand. I want you to leave here feeling kind of motivated, and if I do a good job, maybe you are inspired. And I hope you'll take away something concrete, like a process to help refine your own brand. Why me? Well, the SFA asked me, but I have a point of view about branding. I like collaborating. I like giving advice, sometimes unsolicited. So that's why me. And finally, the last question is, what am I like? I'm pretty friendly and accessible. I can be self-deprecating. Hopefully I'm not boring. You'll see. So let's jam on it. Okay, so brand. There's no photo on this slide because when you start to think about a brand and your business, it's really a blank slate. A brand is not about a logo. It's not about the packaging. I mean, both do matter, and we'll come back to that. But I will digress to tell you just a short story. When I was doing advertising at Polo, we would present to Ralph Lauren, and he would look at the layouts, and then, just a series of pictures with a logo page, and then he would always rip out the logo page and say to us, "Is this still Ralph Lauren? Is it still me?" And it was a really interesting exercise. He always wanted to be true to himself and not just get swayed by trends just for the sake of it. And sometimes it meant throwing out a very expensive photo shoot if the images weren't on brand. But it really is one of the most important lessons I learned from that time, is that it's that kind of attention to detail and to your own identity that, I think made his company so successful. Brand. Brand it's you, but it's also what others think of you, because sometimes you think you're expressing one thing, and then the way it's received isn't that, and it's a whole different interpretation, and then you have to readjust. So that's kind of meta. Excuse me. Brand is deep, so you have to ask yourself those deep questions that we went through. So, just to review, who are you is the first question. This is you. What do you believe? Oops. Okay. These are your values. What's your mission? These are your business goals. This is what you're doing for whom and why. And then there's why you. This is your position. This is why you're different, what your differentiation is. And then what do you like? That's a whole separate thing. That's your personality. So that's interesting to me because a lot of people confuse values with personality. And the example I like to give, which was like a moment for me, was when I realized that my two daughters have really the same values and ethics, but they have totally different personalities, right? One is loud and doesn't stop talking, and the other one is like more quiet and contemplative. But they do have the same ethics, they have the same beliefs, but they just get expressed in different ways. And I think that's an interesting way to think about what your brand personality is. Okay, so we are going to try a hypothetical example to help you understand what I'm talking about. All right, so I've been thinking about cookies. Let's say I want to start a cookie company. Okay, so the first question is, who am I? Okay, well, I'm Nancy. I bake these pretty good molasses cookies. I do it several times a year. I think they're good. What do I believe? I believe the best cookies are homemade. This is all hypothetical. I'm not actually starting a cookie company, although I might. Cookies represent childhood. They remind me of family holidays, like in a good way, not the bad way. Baking with my daughters is a way to connect to them. Whole grains are generally better for you. Giving back to a community is important to me. And the last thing is, like, as just a person, I try to be positive and I try to be grateful every day. So those are my values. And the next thing would be, what's my mission? Okay, so these are your business goals, right? This is what you want to do. Okay, so I want to make a jaw-droppingly delicious cookie that tastes homemade. I want to make a cookie with organic whole grains that you don't just find in the health food store. And I want to prioritize wellness and social responsibility. Okay. So the next question is, why me? Okay, well, this is why you're unique. This is what's your position? Okay, well, my cookies are amazing. They're distinctive. They're simple. Again, contradictions. They're simple, but they're not boring. Strong flavor, but not overpowering. They're familiar, but they're not old-fashioned. They're complex, but not fussy. I make really good cookies, obviously. It's sweet, a little salty, crispy, a little chewy. They're healthy and delicious, and they're shelf-stable, and they taste homemade. They really are amazing. So, and the last question is, what am I like? So this is your brand's personality. Again, more contradictions. And again, it's really interesting to think about those creative tensions. So I'm pretty strong, but I'm also sentimental. I'm feminine, but I'm not fussy. I'm optimistic, but I'm pretty realistic. I hope this company feels modern, but not cold. I'm not afraid to voice an opinion. I'm polite, but I am a little afraid of this long presentation. I appreciate wit and puns, but I try not to be rude. And maybe, I like a retro, preppy, vintage kind of thing, but I don't want to be dated. All right, so now what? What's my cookie brand look like? All right, so what I'm going to do now is take the answers to those questions that we just asked and think about how all those adjectives might translate into some kind of design direction and get me started. So homemade, that sounds like I want it to not be too commercial looking. It should be wholesome, so I want it to feel down to earth. I want it to be strong, and so maybe some bold type. The sentimental part of it, I want it to have meaning and be about something. Modern, but not too grandma. Retro, I'm thinking about a script font maybe. Now I'm getting in the weeds. Feminine, so maybe there's some ironic pink. Positivity to me says yellow. I love yellow. I'm pretty outspoken, but maybe the brand should have a quote. And the wit part, maybe a funny cookie name. If I want to go for, preppy, like a vintage preppy aesthetic, I'm going to think about like pink and green or anchors or stripes. And then if I'm going to be socially conscious, I do want it to have some kind of authenticity. So, okay. So here's an inspiration board I made for myself based on all of that. By the way, this is now trademarked because I'm saying it here. You can't steal my idea. I named my fake company Love Lane Cookies. Excuse me. It's a street around the corner from my apartment where my daughters used to play, and it has the word love in it, which is warm, and it says the family part. I named my cookies Gingerellas because they're molasses ginger cookies. Yes, there's a typo. Yes, that's what happens when you do things the night before. But I really like the pun on Cinderella. It feels feminine, but kind of ironically so. It's kind of like reclaiming princess. And so now I have something to go on. I can start designing with like kind of a lot more intention. And I must admit, as a true creative, I missed the deadline, and I didn't actually design you a final package. But it's a start, but at least I finished the slides for today. Just barely, Sarah. Anyway, so remember the questions. And, you're probably on brand overload after walking the aisles today, but I thought we could take a look at a few real cookie brands and see how they stack up. It's a good discipline, So I want you to look at the next slide and think, I'm not going to tell you, I just want you to look at them and think about all the brands that you're seeing and like what their mouth cookies that we sell. What do you think they are communicating, and how do you think they've answered these questions? Obviously very different packages. Some are a little bit more gourmet, some are a little bit more indie, some are a little rustic, literally. Okay, so this is our cookie, Mouth private label brand, which by the way, and this is a shameless plug, won 2 Sophie Awards this year. But I do want to backtrack to Mouth for a moment as we sort of start to wrap up, because we went through this exercise several times. It's just always good to do it and make sure you're constantly like asking yourself, am I doing what I thought I would, what I set out to do? Okay, so who are we? We're Mouth.com. What do we believe? We believe that small batch artisanal food made by real people is better for you and for the world. And that maybe not as that kind of better for the world, but eating should be joyful. Our mission is to discover the newest and best and delicious specialty foods made in the US and to curate them into standout food gifts. We want to tell the story of the inspired makers that we have. Maybe some of you are out there today, I can't see. And we want to make gift givers look good. Why us? Well, we think we're really good at filtering and walking the show and finding the best stuff. Everything is interesting and delicious and best in class. And what are we like? Well, we try to be friendly, we try to be accessible, conversational, smart when possible, witty, energetic, entertaining, upscale, current, real. And these are some of the products that we've been putting out into the world. And so we realized that one of the core values of our brand is that we care about language a lot. And so the label and the name of the products needed to express our wit, and it just made sense that the most prominent feature would be our food puns. So that's the thing that you can see stands out here. Their cookies are called Smart Cookies. Our organic gummy fish are called Sweetish Fish. The chocolate hazelnuts are Nut Jobs. For the holidays, we introduced Hanukkah Gelt, which we named Gelt Trip. I'm very proud of this name. It's one of the best moments I ever had as a writer. Really the pinnacle of my writing career. I specialize in 2-word pieces. Okay, so I want to just finish up by circling back to the logo, because I said earlier that a brand is not just about a logo. But logos are obviously very important. I mean, think about when you got dressed today. You chose something you felt would represent you, when you project a certain image, when you walk the show. I chose this jacket because I thought it made me look, like official. Anyway, when we were first launching the Mouth brand, we wanted to replicate this experience, kind of like the experience that you have walking through today, or a green market, or in New York, it was Smorgasburg. Going to a food market, opening a jar of jam, talking to the person who made it, then tasting it. And that is a visceral, personal experience. So we wanted, I mean, we were playing around a million logos and a million ideas, but we, came upon this spoon. It's an object, it's tangible. It's not just about typography, it's something real. And it's something that you do something with it. So, and our brand is about people trying and tasting and getting excited. And the logo is stuck around for a while because we're pretty clear on that's who we are. And this understanding of ourselves, it really informs not just the logo. It really informs everything that we do. It informs our photography, rather than just the packaging. We want to open it and see what it looks like and make you hungry. To replicate that experience of tasting. And the voice of our brand is conversational. We're your friend who's walking around with you downstairs, getting excited, pointing out all the places you should stop, making jokes along the way, and our copy tries to be that friend. So we really do try to reflect all of these ideas in our branding, in the writing, the photography, what we do every day. It all flows from asking ourselves those deeper questions and from getting really clear on who we are. And you got to do this every year. You just have to keep asking yourself those questions. I mean, our brand has evolved, but our core values and personality has pretty much stayed constant. So thank you. Thanks for listening. I hope I succeeded in my mission. You can DM us on Instagram, and we'll send you a cheat sheet with the 5 questions. And I do encourage you, as you walk around the show for the rest of the time, I just encourage you to think about what brands stand out to you and why they do. I bet that they are clear, and I bet that they know who they are. Have a good day, a tasty day.